On this episode of the program, a shutdown update, and Kirk Bado joins to talk about everything in the final month of the off-year elections. Are the Dems going to blow it in Virginia? Is the Republican revolution in New Jersey for real? Cuomo's done, and so's Prop 50. But we got a Texas triangle for the midterms. We discuss it all. It's all coming up.
The following is brought to you by Just Another Pilot.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Politics program for October 15th, 2025. Your old pal Justin Robert Young joining you here in Austin, Texas. Feels good to be back home. Feels good to be back in the saddle for a regular episode. Feels good to have a new laptop. Oh, thank you to everybody for all your well wishes over the last few days. We have a great chat with our friend Kirk Bado, and we start off with this. 4 years ago, I went down to Virginia, and I was there for the end of the Glenn Youngkin race, where the Democrats had a lead. It eroded and eroded and eroded, and then eventually it was gone. Republican won. Upset. Are we seeing the same thing happen right now? This time, it's not because of a big issue like education, but rather it's because of a gigantic scandal that might drag down the entire Democratic ticket because they do not want to push away from it. We'll get to that, plus everything else that's happening in this off-year election. Also, in our update, we're going to have a new challenger in Maine, quite possibly the stiffest competition that Susan Collins has seen for that seat. If she can make it out of a primary, Janet Mills, welcome to the fray. You're going to have to catch some incoming immediately on your Democratic side. Plus, a big deal for Argentina. Don't cry for me. But you might want to cry for Buenos Aires if they don't protect Javier Milei's advantage in their elections that are coming up at the end of this month. We'll give you all of those details. But we want to begin by giving you an update on the shutdown. We have entered the phase of the government shutdown where things are about to stop being polite and start getting real. Missed paychecks will happen this week for some federal employees. And while there is less of a question of if they will eventually get paid, the fact that they won't get paid now tends to make things a little, well, grittier. And so where do we stand? Well, I think it's pretty clear that either of these two sides are particularly good at what they are doing right now. On the Democratic side, they are not good at being the troublemakers who stop things because of a righteous cause. And you know that because half of them aren't even taking credit for the righteous cause for which they are shutting things down for. Yes, there is a big conversation, especially in political circles, about the COVID-era Obamacare subsidies and whether or not they're going to get voted on. The reality is this was kind of always something that was going to be talked about by the end of the year, which is when those subsidies actually expire. The rest of what the Democrats are doing is to try to repeal parts of the one big beautiful bill, but they won't say that. They're talking about regional hospitals and they're talking about the Obamacare subsidies. And that's for those that are talking about shutting down the government at all. The other Democratic talking point is that Republicans have shut down the government and Republicans can open it up again should they devolve the filibuster to do it? Now, that's a dangerous game by Democrats because Republicans don't want to devolve the filibuster, because that would mean they would actually have to start passing a lot more things, and then they would all be things that could be almost assuredly pushed away when the Democrats retain control, if the Democrats retain control. And I guess that's part of the idea for the Democrats, is that they want the filibuster to be devolved so the Republicans do things so they can run against the things that they do. But that's a lot to push for on a government shutdown. Meanwhile, the Republicans are pretty bad at keeping the heat on the idea that the government shut down and that it's a bad thing for the government to be shut down. They're not used to doing it. They're used to talking about how this really isn't that big of a deal at all, and maybe we should focus less on the fact that the government shut down, because what does the government really do anyway? There has not been any kind of concerted effort, especially from the White House, to keep the heat on the Democrats. There hasn't really even been any kind of ornamental signs from the White House that anything is different. Now, granted, they've had other gigantic news to talk about, including what happened in the Middle East. We're going to talk about that a little bit more on Friday's episode. But if you don't show consequences, and there's nobody better at marketing this kind of stuff than the President of the United States, then how do you expect the American people to react to it? And so we stay in this very, very weird position where both parties are kind of just moving along. So what does that mean? Well, it probably means that our guest last week, Bill Scher, is going to be correct. This thing is going to last beyond Halloween. We're going to be in to the November holiday season. And right now, the continuing resolution that the Republicans have offered is to November 15th. That means if they signed it today, they would only have a month to get all of their appropriations bills done, which isn't going to happen, which means they'd need another continuing resolution. Now, you can bet on the idea that once you get done with one shutdown, you probably don't have the stomach to continue with another one, because if you had that fire in the belly, you probably wouldn't have stopped the first. But still, we're probably going to look at either a change of the date of the continuing resolution, or that we turn around and do this exact thing again going forward. So what's the off-ramp? Well, nothing has really changed to think that the off-ramp most assuredly would be 5 more Democratic senators saying enough is enough, having a quote-unquote rank and file revolt, and I'm putting that in air quotes because the leadership theoretically would be whipping against this, although I don't know if Chuck Schumer is all that upset if this ends. Although, boy, talk about not being used to it. Chuck Schumer came out and said, every day gets better for us as Democrats. It's the kind of thing that can get played over and over and over again, especially if people are losing their paychecks. Still, 5 Democrats would vote to reopen the government on some kind of handshake agreement, that there would be a vote on the Obamacare subsidies either immediately or a week afterward, or blah, 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 blah. Now, the Democratic position on this right now is, how can we trust the Republicans? They agreed to funding levels and then they passed rescissions. This is not a good faith partner. Well, eventually somebody's going to have to agree to do something. And I don't see the full-scale revolt that you would need to see to sway Speaker Johnson or Majority Leader Thune, let alone the President of the United States. I will say this. I thought that this was not going to last particularly long with the Democrats, and it is certainly stretching out. But a few days ago, I made the argument, or a week ago, I made the argument that maybe the Democrats should have sold high then, when you still had good poll numbers and you could say, all right, nothing has gotten bad. We get credit for fighting. Let's move along. Well, they did not do that because they sensed they had more to gain. I don't know if they're right, but we're all going to find out together. As we're waiting, let's go ahead and talk to our good friend Kirk Bado about all the off-year elections and a little bit of midterm speculation. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the program Kirk Bado, Hotline Editor. Kirk, welcome. I have one question to lead off with. What the hell is happening in Virginia with the Democrats? Are they really going to choke again 4 years after they did the exact same thing?
First off, great to be here with you this morning. Second off, I really don't think that the state of Virginia Democrats' implosion is to the level, the 5-alarm fire that we saw with the Macklers campaign 4 years ago. Yeah. I think this is going to be a controlled demolition of just the attorney general's race here. That is what this is. Abigail Spanberger for months has outraised, outran, out-campaigned with some real seers at the top of the ticket. And I really don't see Jones dragging her down in this text message scandal here. Now, it might be a little bit closer to the margins. Like, it might shave off 2-3 points here. She's still going to win by 4+ points, maybe 5-6 points here. I don't think they should be concerned about fumbling that hard. Now, if Republicans had someone else running at the top of the ticket, yes, this would be much more of a race. But with Winston Earl Sears, it's just, I don't see it happening.
So for folks who are just catching up on this, can you explain what happened with Jay Jones?
Jay Jones, which I think it's kind of remarkable that the Democrat he was running against in the primary, I believe Shannon Taylor was her name. She's now running for Congress against Rob Whitman in the 1st district, did not find this Oppo research during her campaign. I think that's the most remarkable part here. So go back even further. Jay Jones is the Democratic nominee for Attorney General. It was revealed about 2 weeks ago in an article in the National Review that several years ago, before he was a state lawmaker, he had sent text messages to a Republican lawmaker making some pretty violent and vulgar threats against the former Republican Speaker of the House, saying if it was something to the effect of, if Hitler and Stalin, Mussolini, and this guy were in a room together and I only had 2 bullets, I'd shoot him twice. And also like making remarks about his wife and kids too, like really, really crass stuff that might be in the realm of like internet edgelord threats. Like if you were in a Call of Duty lobby, you probably have heard similar talk before, but that's not what you want to see from an attorney general.
And I would say key, and I would encourage people to go read them yourself if you are interested in this story, at least to understand what is happening in Virginia, that this wasn't banter. Like it wasn't like there was a lot of like LOLs and, crying, laughing emojis. As I'm sure, many people in the audience have sent weird things to their friends and they've been responded to. The responses from the person on the other side is like, Jason, you're scaring me. Why are you talking
hey, are you all right,
this?
brother? Like, what's going on here? Like, this isn't like you're right. It's not banter. This isn't a bit that they're doing.
No,
this was serious, or at least the person on the other line thought it was serious. And since those have come out, he has apologized, but he has not dropped out of the race. Nor has he said that if he does win and defeat the incumbent attorney general right now, that he would resign. I mean, it's just so unique, especially because of the position he's running for. I mean, this is the chief law enforcement officer of Virginia,
where temperament is kind of an important thing.
Correct. Where temperament, I mean, I don't think he's able to discharge his duties and prosecute cases when, if you're a defendant, you can point to this violent rhetoric that he had said in these text messages and be like, look, we have a biased prosecutor here. This is a violent guy. Like, what are we doing here? Like, it's disqualifying, but not disqualifying enough for him to feel the pressure to drop out, nor for the vast majority of Democrats in Virginia to call for him to drop out as well, or even withdraw their support of his campaign. And a lot of that has to do with the parochial politics of Virginia. His dad was a longtime politico in the state who died earlier this year. There's a lot of loyalty there. Like Tim Kaine, for example, has known Jones for 25 years. He's 33. He's known him since he was a kid because of his relationships with his father. A child. So this is a very difficult position for the Democrats to be in, especially with this rise in political violence that you and I have been talking a lot about. I mean, we're on the 1 month anniversary or so of Charlie Kirk's assassination. Then stuff like this comes out. There's, Trump and other Republicans are banging the drum on how there's a lot of violence in these cities, that Democrats aren't sufficiently condemning this. It puts Democrats in a really difficult spot. But again, I don't think it's going to sink Democrats' chances coming up in November.
So, obviously we are all Monday morning quarterbacking to a certain extent. But if I were hired by the Virginia Democrats, I would say the following. Jay, today you need to come out and say, for all the Democrats in Virginia that care about the rule of law, I'm going to keep my name on the ballot. There will be a discussion after the election as I will consult with everybody else in the party, and we will make a decision going forward as to what my state is going to be. Give a fig leaf of some version that everybody else, yes, give a little wiggle room that you're going to do the right thing, whatever the right thing might be. Now, you can get over the hump, and then at that point, go to anger management for 30 days and figure something out, right? But for right now, you are killing everybody else on your ticket by not giving them something to say, like what happened during the Virginia governor's debate, where Winsome Earl-Sears, who I thought came out way too aggressive in general, right. She had the moment of the night where she keeps asking Abigail Spanberger, at what level do you denounce, or what level do you call for him to drop out? Because Abigail Spanberger doesn't have anything that she can do other than say, I disagree with those comments. But Correct. It's going to stop short at anything concrete. There's no version of this. And this is what I would say to Abigail Spanberger. You've got to come out and say, what I read was disgusting, which she has said. It's not the Jay Jones I know.
And she said that.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened. But then what's missing is what Jay Jones says himself is going to happen, right? Like there's nothing there that isn't hittable on why don't you call for him to drop out? Do you really believe somebody who has that on the record should be the Attorney General of Virginia? Because she's on that ticket right now.
Exactly.
Now, what I don't know, and I think this is going to be a very interesting week of polling in the Commonwealth of Virginia, but we know that Jay Jones was almost instantly underwater against Miyares, his Republican opponent. We have seen a tightening in the governor's race. Right. Is Spanberger's handling of this, not necessarily what Jay Jones did, is her handling of this and the revelation that she is not great under fire, no matter what is happening with Winsome Earl-Sears, is that enough to kind of drag things down? I don't know. And then also it's like, are there some ghosts there from that McAuliffe campaign where they were running just as far ahead against Glenn Youngkin 4 years ago, and it just kind of kept creeping up and creeping up and creeping up and creeping up. And very similarly, when I was on the ground covering the last weekend of that race, even though they knew this was about education, they stuck by loyally. They had Randy Weingarten out on the trail with them.
Oh, yeah.
That last weekend when at the Youngkin rallies, Randy Weingarten was one of the biggest boo lines in the entire stump speech. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Find somebody in your life, Kirk, everybody listening, somebody in your life who is as loyal to you as a Virginia Democrat is to another Virginia Democrat.
They are, but I don't think they're all going to be sinking in the ship here. I do think Abigail Spanberger is a lot better political athlete than, let's do like a little apples to apples comparison here, than someone like Mikey Sherrill right now, who is really struggling. And plus, I think the issue set's a lot better for her too. Yes, the Jay Jones controversy is consuming. It's breathed new life into this race, not just the governor's race, but the races that are going to be on the ballot in November. I think the RGA donated another $1.5 million worth of an ad buy. Right now they have the Jones comments on repeat up here in the DMV media market especially. But the issue set here beyond that is all in her favor. These government furloughs, these layoffs that happened earlier this year, these are all things that Winston Sears has really struggled to push back on, to break with Trump and even just condemn that thousands of Virginians are now out of a job. That helps Abigail Spanberger right now. If you look at the past history of Virginia races as well, like there always seem as a referendum on the party power in the White House. Like the streak, I mean, how far back does that go? Because it
actually isn't as concrete, if I remember correctly. I think that there was one blip not too long ago, but by and large, it is a pretty sturdy windsock of whoever's sitting in the White House, that party loses the governor's race in Virginia, which does repeat every single cycle because of their term limits.
And I don't think Winston Earl Sears is going to be the one to break that cycle here. I mean, there's a reason why Glenn Youngkin gets floated for administration positions, for presidential nominees. It's because he's a great and talented politician who is a good political athlete who took advantage of that education issue set when it was in front of him. Winston Earl Sears is not Glenn Youngkin here, and the issue set isn't the same. Before this, they were trying to microwave an education issue by lumping it in with trans policies in schools. Yeah. Abigail Spanberger, to her credit, which I thought was a really smart move by her and demonstrated her political athleticism, got a response ad to Winston Earl Sears' first, like, she's for they, them, not for us ad within 2 days. Like, that was up on air. And that's a lesson that she could take from the Kamala Harris campaign. She got up on there early. I think she's struggling with the Jones issue right now, but I don't think it's going to be the deciding factor here.
I mean, it would have to be a massive swing. It would have to be huge based on the polling that, and I guess the argument for it is that you can attrit some of that Northern Virginia base for Spanberger because this is kind of like just really icky, just really, really gross. And that can stick, and it can both elevate whatever Republican vote needs to get out because it is, it's tied to Charlie Kirk. It has this flavor of the moment that can really get people excited. But also, I do think that it can attrit on the Democratic side of, a fairly purple state that says like, no, I don't want this party. This is not the party that I want to support.
And that's why I think, because Virginia is that purple state, I think you're going to see a lot of split ticket voting here. I think you might see a lot of people vote for Abigail Spanberger and then the Republican for the AG race. Like, I think that's absolutely within the realm of possibility. Virginia voters are smart. They're very engaged with this process here. And I think they can see that, would it be better for them to go full Civil War surgery here and cut off the gangrene arm here and just cut Jones off for loss? Absolutely. But I think they're going to be able to contain the infection at least until that area. I don't think it's going to infect the whole body here.
I'll tell you what. If we start seeing a Sears +1, even polls.
Trafalgar had one. Trafalgar had a poll out this morning, which, take it for what it's worth here. Yeah. That had the race as a virtual tie this morning. So I am going to be.
If you see more of those, it will test the ironclad loyalty of Virginia Democrats to not call for Jones to step down.
Yeah, if they don't call for him to drop out this week, now obviously his name's still going to be on the ballot. Early voting's already started.
You are conceding the AG race, but the argument would be you lost it. It's done. Correct. The horse is out of the barn. You can complain about the fact that the horse is out of the barn, but that was done when he sent the text messages.
Absolutely. Like, this is, again, a totally self-inflicted wound here, and I do think that if we do see more polls that are in line with that Trafalgar poll that was out this morning this week, I think the stadium sounds around Jones to do something, to drop out, to promise to, if he does win, to talk with his team about the necessary steps to best represent Virginians. Then I don't know what we're doing if we're Democrats here. I think that's when the alarm bells start going off.
I think it might be enough for me to come up to Virginia because
come on up, man. It's fall.
I think I've been looking for, I was hoping that maybe, Sleewood drops out and I could maybe get a little bit of the New York race with Cuomo, but that's, oh my God, dude. I got sent video from a fundraising dinner that Cuomo did this weekend. It's over. He doesn't, I have seen more excited pitches. What was that?
Well, what you see in that video, was he just like...
I've seen more excited pitches at Best Buy when they're trying to sell me an extended warranty for a iPhone charger. All right. That dude doesn't want to be mayor. He's never wanted to be mayor. He is just when he's lying to his donors about how close he is, he doesn't really even believe it. And his theory of the case that he told to donors, and I will now report exclusively here, was Trump... Sleewood doesn't need to drop out because Trump is telling Republicans to vote for Cuomo, and that will be enough. And it's you don't even believe. New York Republicans, all the New York Republicans that voted for Trump, they're either going to vote for you or Sliwa one way or another, but they are not swayable. The Sliwa voters, the 15% that he needs Sliwa out of there. In fact, he probably needed Sliwa and Adams to both drop out and then endorse him. But he's never going to do that because he's not that kind of political animal. He's unlikable. He has run over both of them and would again with a car tomorrow.
He would back up over them. Absolutely.
Yeah, if it suited him. It's just done. And then you see Zoran up on stage with 3,000 people chanting for Lena Khan like she's Led Zeppelin.
Walking out to regulate Warren G. That's great. You have to have political instincts for that. That's great.
And it looks like a movie. His campaign is being run so much better. But Cuomo's over. So New York's not happening. I could go to New Jersey. That does seem like a race that is very close. But
that one's going to be much more competitive, I think.
It is going to be much more competitive. But boy, do I love flailing campaigns. I love to see, because to me, that's really where the organization and the candidate shine. When things are wobbly, can you reset it? And to go back to Zoran, when he had that thing about globalize the intifada, bad moment. He was bad in it. They were bad for letting him get into a situation where he didn't have a better answer for it other than globalize the intifada is in the Holocaust Museum or something stupid like what he said.
It wasn't great.
But they stabilized. They figured out where they needed to go. And now what do you see? Zoran with rabbis. Zoran at temple. Zoran talking about I want to be there when the mezuzah falls. They are filling in the gaps, and also they're probably going to be aided by the fact that this Gaza peace truce happened, which is going to take a lot of heat out of a hot kitchen when it comes to that issue on the Democratic side. But
absolutely,
this is bad campaigns and good campaigns. And what I don't know is whether or not Spanberger is I know she's a better candidate. Well, I don't know if she's a better candidate than McAuliffe, to be totally honest with you.
I think she is better for this moment than McAuliffe was for 2021. I think she's doing a good job right now. I do think that she's closing strong. She had run up the score already here.
Yeah.
I do think it would be much more interesting for you to come up here and try to do some sort of reporting on Winsome Earl-Sears, who is just very anti-media. I mean, the most the press get from her is when she goes up to these school board meetings up in Northern Virginia and then comes out afterwards and holds basically mini rallies with her supporters over these trans issues in schools. I think that would be might be worth your time up here, especially because this is going to be the first real test of that line of attack after Trump did it so successfully in 2024. So I don't think we're in flailing territory yet for Spanberger. We could be up there for Mikey Sherrill in the closing weeks here.
Sherrill, I think, she's. I mean, the big question is just whether New Jersey, really, in that, because for you to talk yourself into Governor Ciccarelli, you really just have to fundamentally think that New Jersey is kind of a transformed state, that yes. New Jersey is a lot more Staten Island than it is anything else in the tri-state area.
It's exactly. Not just Staten Island, but even some of those more outer borough rings around New York too that have been really competitive on the House race side over these last few cycles, and especially those ones right by New York City, like in and around Newark. I'm thinking like New Jersey 9, the Nellie Poe district. That one had one of the biggest shifts away from Democrats in 2024, and a lot of that had to do with these large population of Hispanic voters who had drifted over toward Trump over the last few cycles here. I think there's 4 counties in there where there's at least 35% Hispanic voting population that broke really heavily toward Trump. Those are the areas that Mikey Sherrill needs to either have lower turnout or she needs to be campaigning her ass off up there, because those are the areas that Jack Ciccarelli is really focusing on right now. So if it were to be competitive, I think, a friend of mine, Cameron Joseph up at I believe he wrote this for the Christian Science Monitor, did a great report up there in New Jersey 9. He went into the Hispanic parts of the district there, brushed off his college Spanish to talk to voters down there about what they think of Trump's first few months in office. Those are going to be the areas to watch, not just in November, but trying to project ahead here for control of the House as well, if those drifts toward Trump hold. So again, if you're looking at for your fall travel, I do think Virginia might be worth your time if you come up here and cover Winsome Earl Sears. Like you and I have both been covering election nights before. It's so much more fun to go report, and you learn so much more at the losing campaigns watch party than the front runners here. Unless there's a big upset, then you definitely want to be there. But I think Winsome Earl Sears in Virginia, or going up and focusing on those Hispanic communities up in New Jersey, because that's where the race is going to be won or lost.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm curious to see where the polling goes this week on the governor's race. You've heard a lot, far more optimistic talk from Republicans about Virginia than I was expecting, and for all of the weakness of Winsome Earl Sears as a candidate, and Spanberger, I think, has made ample work of exposing some of the more animated moments, let's say, of her candidacy, that makes her look a little out there and unhinged. I don't know if that is as powerful as that ad of Winsome Earl Sears asking Spanberger, while she just kind of absentmindedly looks forward about the Jay Jones stuff. So what I really don't know, and this is what I would kind of love more of an on the ground sense of, is like, if this is getting pumped, what I've heard, part of the optimism for the Republicans is that Jay Jones is locally a far bigger story than it is, nationally political people care about it. But it's like locally, it's on the morning news, it's on the evening news, it's on commercials every 5 seconds. People know about this. And I don't think the reason why I'm curious about it, to be totally honest with you, is I thought that Spanberger would have had a line for this earlier, that you would have been able to distance yourself from it on some level. And they haven't, at least the lines that they have so far have not rung true. But again, this might be a situation where it's too early, that you might see some tightening polls now in mid-October, but maybe although I don't know, voting's happening now, so maybe this is the perfect time.
Voting's happening. I think it is coming at a good time to start juicing that early voting to get the message out in voters' minds. But I think the Republicans didn't do enough to lay the groundwork to take advantage of this situation early on. I mean, the RGA had basically
this was an abandoned race until 2 weeks ago.
This was an abandoned race. You and I were talking football over the weekend here, and I'm thinking about the Tennessee Titans last week took advantage of just total collapse by the Arizona Cardinals. Like the Cardinals gave up interceptions. They had weird onside stuff. Like the Cardinals just completely imploded. They had the fumble at the goal line where the ball went out the back of the end zone after a breakaway touchdown. The Titans did everything they could to put themselves in position to take advantage of those mistakes. This could be a fumble at the goal line for Virginia Democrats, but Republicans have not put themselves in a position necessarily, I think, to capitalize right now. And that could all change when we see polls coming out this week. But I think if they would have gotten involved a lot earlier, I think if they would have invested in this race, like Winsome Earl-Sears was just a generic Republican, then I think she might have been in a better position here. What's interesting is that Trump has been seizing on this as well. He sent off a few Truth Social posts about Jones and linked him to Abigail Spanberger, but he still hasn't endorsed Winsome Earl-Sears because she called for him to drop out and, just stay in the political wilderness after January 6th. So he's keeping her at arm's length too. So
I think that might also be a benefit for her too. I think
it was 4 years ago with Glenn Youngkin, who I thought navigated the Trump relationship about as well as anyone could.
Well, he got an endorsement but declined a rally, right?
Correct.
Was that where it landed?
Right. And Trump was pretty hands-off until after the race, where he said that thanks to my endorsement, blah, 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 I got him over the line. Trump is actively being antagonistic right now to Winsome Earl-Sears, at least behind the scenes. You see like Chris LaCivita, longtime Virginia political operative before he went big with Trump, has been critical of her in the past pretty publicly. So I don't think there's any love lost between her and Trump world. And if you want to win in Virginia, you're still going to need those Trump voters to turn out here. And if they're not excited, I don't see how she has the base of support to get her over the line, even if she starts having those independent and Democrat-minded voters come over to her because of this Jones controversy.
People like an upset. That's all I'll say. You never know. When things start falling apart, then other people start getting on the bandwagon. This is your update, brought to you by TakePoliticsSeriously.com. That's where you need to go if you want to support this show. Subscribe. Get 2 bonus episodes each and every week. Guys, all that simple. Head on over there right now. We love it. You love it. We love you. And you keep us in business. Let's go ahead and play an ad.
Governor Janet Mills blasted President Trump today.
Janet Mills clashed with President Trump, sparring with Maine's governor.
Is Maine here, the governor of Maine?
Not here.
Are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. You better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't.
The governor said,
See you in court.
see you in court.
I did see him in court, and we won.
Federal judge ordered the Trump administration to unfreeze federal funds for the state of Maine.
You know, my father was a 7th-generation Mainer who stood up for people who couldn't stand up for themselves. And when I was little, he told me, you can't let bullies have their way, or they'll never stop. So I heard my father's voice when the bullies in power said a woman couldn't be a prosecutor, or an attorney general, or a governor. So I fought back, and I won. And yes, it was my father's voice I heard that February morning when the President of the United States confronted me. We stood up to Trump and stopped him from cutting the school lunch program for Maine kids. But there are too many politicians in Washington, including Susan Collins.
Susan Collins, we want to thank.
Who've forgotten their principles and let bullies like Trump have their way. And it's hurting Maine people. I've never backed down from a bully, and I never will. Honestly, if this president and this Congress were doing things that were even remotely acceptable, I wouldn't be running for the U.S. Senate. But when Trump rips away health care from millions of Americans and drives up costs on everything from groceries to housing to trucks and cars, then turns around and gives corporate CEOs a massive tax cut, and Susan Collins helps him do it after she helped him overturn Roe v. Wade, I hear my father's voice saying, "Fight back, Janet." I won't sit idly by while Maine people suffer and politicians like Susan Collins bend a knee as if this were normal. My life's work has prepared me for this fight, and I'm ready to win. This election will be a simple choice. Is Maine going to bow down or stand up? I know my answer.
That is Maine Governor Janet Mills, who is running to be Senator Janet Mills. Chuck Schumer and the Senate leadership have decided that she is the number one candidate that they believe can take on Susan Collins. We will get to her in a second. Let's break down the strengths and weaknesses of Governor Mills. First things first, she's fairly popular, especially in the state of Maine. She does have a track record for fighting against President Trump after a dust-up that happened when all of the country's governors were at the White House at the beginning of this year. The problem is that she's 77, which gets us back into a conversation about age in the Democratic Party. Now, I don't think that she reads as 77, but it obviously is something that is in the minds of Democratic voters after Joe Biden. Will it matter? We will find out. One of the candidates that got into this race, a brewery owner, has already dropped out and endorsed her. So she has cleared the lane except for one candidate. And that is Graham Plattner, an oyster farmer whose video we played on this program a few weeks ago. Graham Plattner's campaign is staffed by some of the upstarts in the Democratic world who have a few wins under their belt. Staffers for John Fetterman's campaign in Pennsylvania and Zohran Mamdani's in New York City. They are putting Graham Plattner in an outsider lane who can appeal to populism without totally alienating Trump voters. He's got a little testosterone to him. He's not some pencil neck academic. He's got a authentic vibe that he wants to contrast against the been there, done that experience of Janet Mills. I got my eyes on this race. I like this race. Papa like this race. I think that this is a good stress test of the Democratic Party. What does establishment mean right now, especially in 2026? Are we now beginning to see a repeatable playbook of the outsider, progressive that can talk to Trump voters? As much as the Mamdani thing is wrapped up in the idea that, oh, he's a Disney Channel Marxist and he far more looks like the kind of pencil neck dweeb that would normally be caricatured as a progressive. Let's not forget, Mamdani began his campaign in the Democratic primary going to districts in New York City that swung the most for Trump, making videos where he found Trump 2024 voters and asking why they did so he could build a platform that could give them what they wanted. This was all about his affordability lane, and he has done it really, really well. So when you're looking at a race like this, or at least when I'm looking at a race like this, for as much as we can see the strategy here, authenticity versus experience is going to be how both of these guys are going to want to fight, Plattner versus Mills. And I don't know if Mills has the moves to outmaneuver it. So maybe Mills can just lean on Plattner. Plattner's new. But there's going to be a really excitable base that'll push for Plattner. And either of them are going to be tough outs for Susan Collins, in my opinion. But then again, everybody always thinks that this is the last hurrah for Susan Collins, and she may well get her sixth term in the Senate. President Donald Trump will meet Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House on Friday, signaling a thaw in their relationship after months of tension. The meeting follows phone calls discussing Kyiv's potential acquisition of U.S. Tomahawk missiles, a proposal Trump had previously resisted over escalation fears. Relations between the two leaders has improved since a contentious February encounter, and Trump is now taking a firmer stance against Russia, calling it the aggressor and labeling Putin's war machine a paper tiger. Zelensky has cited Trump's recent success brokering a Gaza ceasefire and expressed optimism that Trump could achieve peace with Russia. He even suggested that if Trump managed it, Ukraine could nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize, which he's probably going to get some kind of push at the very least for his Gaza assistance. So we see the Gaza peace plan. It's a big deal. Very, very big deal. And we'll follow some of the... I wanted to wait until Friday to talk about this because aside from just the announcement of what was happening, I kind of want to know where we are 48 hours in. Ceasefires are notoriously fragile. You're already starting to see some back and forth with Israel and Hamas negotiating over how many remains of hostages have been delivered back to Israel. Not as many as Israel wanted is the short story of that. But I wanted to see, if things don't go well immediately, who do they appeal to? What actions do either side take? And so we'll talk about that on Friday. But I don't think that Gaza being quote unquote solved, right? A ceasefire that brought home the living hostages at the very least, which does reframe this conflict. I don't think that it's a good news situation for Vladimir Putin and Russia. Our friend Ryan Macbeth made a video saying that one of the big talking points that Russia likes putting out there is that America is not a good negotiator. Well, America helped negotiate what this was in Gaza. I don't think that there's going to be any kind of end to this war during the winter months. That's when fighting tends to stall in general, and everybody can look forward to the spring to see whether or not they feel good about their situation. You've seen both sides of this conflict begin to hit energy depots because they want to make the harsh winter even colder in their respective countries. But, if Ukraine gets Tomahawks, we start to get into a situation where you can press forward a little bit. Very interested to see the tone out of Trump, the tone out of Zelensky when it comes to this Friday meeting. And finally, in a White House meeting Tuesday, Donald Trump said his administration's plans to provide economic assistance to Argentina in the way of a currency swap is contingent on whether or not his ally, Argentinian President Javier Milei, remains in his current level of power. Quote, "If he loses, we're not going to be generous with Argentina," Trump said during a meeting. "If he does win, we're going to be very helpful. And if he doesn't win, we're not going to waste our time." Because you have somebody whose philosophy has no chance of making Argentina great again. While Milei himself is not up for re-election, it will be the first legislative elections since he took office in 2023. The Trump administration last week finalized a $20 billion currency swap with Argentina's central bank. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the United States was prepared to, quote, "take whatever exceptional measures are warranted to stabilize markets in Argentina." Bessent said on Tuesday that the White House that U.S. assistance was meant to assist Milei in his attempts to reorient Argentina's economy with his policy agendas. Quote, "It is much better to form an economic bridge with our allies, people who want to do the right thing, than to have them shoot at narco gunboats." So we think this is an opportunity for the Argentinian people. We think President Milei is the one to do it. There's also a little sideshow here of China buying soybeans from Argentina and not from America as a way to try to drive a wedge between these two countries. So I had to look this up because I wasn't totally familiar with it. The $20 billion that is being talked about here has been portrayed by varying different people as a bailout for Malay. And I think that that's partially a good way to look at it. It is certainly an infusion of cash to stabilize some of the markets that are fragile right now. Remember, Argentina is coming out of like a really, really, really dark economic place. They were looking at very low growth, hyperinflation, and some grim economic realities. They are beginning to emerge out of that. They have manageable inflation of about 2%. That's coming down from like 300. And economic growth in Argentina is a big deal. But still, there's a run on the Argentinian peso. And so America is going to buy a lot of those pesos, give them dollars, and then Argentina will have to give the dollars back and take the pesos back, theoretically, once the peso's in a stronger position. So this is the United States being generous. And I guess theoretically, we could just take a loss on all of it, but that's not the plan as of now. There's obviously a lot going on here. Javier Milei is a libertarian's libertarian, an Austrian economic thinker. And thus far, you have seen positive headlines out of Argentina. Will that be the case when the voting happens? That we will have to look forward to. And that's your update. TakePoliticsSeriously.com, where you need to go to subscribe to this program. Only $3 a week, $12 a month, guys. Come on, come do it. And now, back to Mr. Kirk Bado. I want to talk to you about a few other midterm things. One of them down here that might make travel a little bit easier for me here in Texas, because we have a hell of a primary on our hands now. John Cornyn now facing not only Ken Paxton, but also rising star Wesley Hunt. Speaking of Chris LaCivita, he took big shots at Hunt, saying this was, him bumping up his name ID to run for land commissioner. Hunt is a rising star. He is somebody that you would imagine could at some point certainly be senator, if not a presidential candidate.
Right.
Is this him jumping too fast? Is he, what do you think the calculus is from the Hunt camp?
I think he sees this as his best opportunity right now. I mean, once you're a Texas senator or even Texas governor, you're kind of locked in for as long as you want to be. Hunt, 44 years old, like you said, a rising star in the Republican Party. He had a nice speaking slot at the RNC as well, I believe, on the Monday opening night. And he's someone who politicos in D.C. as well have tapped for something down the line. No matter whatever that is, he's been tapped as one to watch. But I do think that for him, though, the ceiling here is forcing a runoff. I don't think he's got enough juice to win the race. I think he's got enough juice to keep all three of them, Paxton, Cornyn, and Hunt, under the 50% threshold in March. So then we have to go to a May runoff. I think that's the hard ceiling here.
But does he think he's going to be bigger than Cornyn? So that essentially he can force a one-on-one with Paxton? Or, I mean, that's another race that I cannot wait for more substantial polling to be done.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I don't know where he draws from. There's an argument that he draws more from Paxton and kills the Paxton campaign. Because the one thing about Hunt is that he's very TV focused. He's far more charismatic than Paxton, even though Paxton is the guy who's done the thing. Hunt is on Fox News, on all of the conservative outlets all the time. Is he the dude who takes from that lane, or is he taking from the where we're terrified that Cornyn's going to lose against Paxton, the more establishment Republican? It was going to be Hunt eventually. Let's just give it to him now.
Well, I think he and Paxton are definitely going to be pulling from the same base here. I think that's correct. And I think it's so interesting. I covered Hunt during his first run for Congress in 2020 when he was running in the swing district against Lizzie Fletcher in Houston. Mm-hmm. That Wesley Hunt was much more pragmatic, much more focused on winning over people in the middle. But then after Texas got redrawn following apportionment in 2021, and he had a safe seat basically delivered to him, that's where you saw him go full MAGA in the Wesley Hunt that we see today. That's exactly. I mean, he when you listen to him talk right now, he's like an in real life PragerU video. Like he is he's very ambitious and is able to speak the language and go native on a lot of this stuff. So he's very ambitious, like I said. I think he's going to be pulling from Paxton more. But right now, the name of the game for him is just getting his name ID up. I mean, he's not run statewide. For the last few months, a PAC associated with him has been running ads down there. Have you seen any of those ads, by the way, for Wesley Hunt before he jumped in?
I have not seen them natively.
Okay.
I did see his ad ostensibly for his very safe seat where he is, on a, in a rodeo grounds with an aggressively unbuttoned collar, like just
very
aggressively unbuttoned. And it's like, if there's one thing that he has that other people in this race, specifically Paxton and Cornyn, don't have, is like vitality. I can understand if you are in their camp and you say, all right, look at Wesley Hunt, beautiful young family. He's a young guy. He's,
he's playing that up.
He's a big built dude.
West Point grad.
And Paxton is, he's the MAGA guy, but he's very on paper. He's not charismatic at all. He's got huge issues when it comes to corruption in his personal life. And then John Cornyn is the past. He's from a different Republican Party. He has really alienated himself with the base down here. So it's like, I can see where they talk themselves into it. The question is always when, not if.
Right. And he's playing into that too. He's talked about how he's framing this race. First off, he's trying to occupy the MAGA lane that Paxton is. And he's framed this as he's trying to be a new generational leader in the MAGA movement. He talks about his age a lot. He's only 44 years old. And to your point about the family, before he was even officially running, I think on the day that the divorce records came out, he was tweeting out pictures of his family and everything, saying, this is what it's all about. Faith, family.
For those of you who have not obsessively followed this, Ken Paxton's wife, who is a character in and of herself, she is a state legislator here in Texas. She was famous, may still be famous. In fact, very Taylor Swift-like. We would be looking forward to her next song because she is famous for writing and singing songs about her husband, usually in glowing fashion, although I don't imagine that the ditties she'd pen these days would be particularly sunny. Because
I'm looking forward to the breakup album.
Yeah, because they got divorced, or she has filed for divorce under, and this is a quote, biblical grounds. So we don't know exactly what the biblical grounds are, but there are rumors about Christian influencers that Ken Paxton, his corruption scandal revolved around a little young thing that he kept up near Lantana here in Austin. Mm-hmm. So, who knows? I don't know. I mean, like, I'm bullish on Hunt. There would be, I would be thrilled if, we had another up and coming congresswoman from Texas that decided that she wanted to run in the Democratic lane because Jasmine Crockett.
I mean, if she wants to make this a race, go ahead. I mean, that Democratic primary is getting a little crowded with James Talrico and Colin Allred, which I think is going to be an interesting race as well. But what I find it pretty remarkable too is how personal the NRSC and SLF are going after Paxton and Hunt right now. Because yes, they are incumbent protection programs through and through. They need to crush these guys now to clear the path for Cornyn. Cornyn's also probably going to be their best bet in a general election as well. So I understand the incentives here. However, there's a non-zero chance that Paxton or Hunt come out of this primary here. And I don't know about you, but I've been bookmarking all these tweets and statements from these comms people, from these elected officials and everything, because they're going to have to turn around then and campaign for these guys. They're going to have to spend tens of millions of dollars to get these guys across the finish line here. And I don't understand exactly what the calculus is about being so personal in the denunciations now, when in a few months you might have to dance with the one that brung you.
Well, and the big question is, the guy in the White House, because the question has always been where the endorsement goes. There's no doubt that Ken Paxton is going to get one of them. Donald Trump prizes loyalty, and there have been few elected officials across the country that have been as loyal to Donald Trump and to doing whatever Donald Trump wanted than Ken Paxton. But is there room for a double endorsement? Dare we say, Kirk, a triple endorsement?
Absolutely. I mean, this is not unfamiliar territory for Trump here. Hunt jumped into the race at the worst time for Cornyn because he had been closing the gap. That was one of the mile markers that was set up from GOP strategists, and something that Trump had been looking for as well, because Paxton was just lapping him right now. And Trump wants to hitch his wagon to a winning horse here. Cornyn was closing the gap. It was moving in the right direction. And now Hunt is coming in here, and he can legitimately make a case and start pulling probably from Paxton, maybe a little from Cornyn. But that momentum's going to start stalling out here sooner rather than later. We've already seen Trump do double endorsements in the Missouri Senate race from a few years back. He's got the double endorsement in the Arizona governor's race this year between Andy Biggs and Karen Taylor Robinson. I wouldn't be surprised if Dave Schweikert, who just jumped into that race, also got an endorsement. You could totally see a world where the week before, or something like that, Trump sends a Truth Social post out saying, to the great people of Texas, you are so lucky to have three wonderful candidates on the ballot here to choose from. 3 great MAGA warriors. And Ken Paxton, John Cornyn, Wesley Hunt, they're strong on 2A, tough on borders, and they all have my complete and total endorsement. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Can't you see that in your head?
I can, and that would be a disaster for Paxton.
Yes.
Paxton needs to stop that from happening. Paxton needs the sole endorsement if he is going to win. Again, and this is why the polling on this is so fascinating. I actually don't think, I think the reason why the Senate Leadership Fund and everybody's going so hard on Wesley Hunt right now is because they know he's probably the better general election candidate. I mean, Cornyn would win in a general election because he's won before. He's generally thought of as more popular than Ted Cruz and a few other people in the state. But I think Hunt would get people excited, especially in an off-year election, and I think he would be a very strong general election candidate, especially because I think he would be able to take it to anybody that showed up on the other side, which is why the Jasmine Crockett thing is so interesting to me, because it's like, boy, talk about primetime television. You put Jasmine Crockett and Wesley Hunt on a stage together and say, argue about the issues. Good Lord. That is a Katie bar the door situation.
Yeah, I'm seated. They keep telling me it hasn't happened yet, and I'm just too seated right now. Yes. I'm locked in on that. That would be great. That would be the Senate race that we want, probably the one we would deserve as well, because that would just be a mess, and there'd be hundreds of millions of dollars of ads flying around there.
Can you imagine how much money Jasmine Crockett would raise from New York and California to run for Senate in Texas?
Amy McGrath would have to drop out of the Kentucky race because all those donors
the bonfire.
are going
the bonfire. Amy McGrath, she's back. She's back for more bills to light a flame.
Someone needs to we need to jump on this now. I think we should start pitching Jasmine Crockett. I mean, there was a few polls.
There's polls that are out that show that are coaxing. Yeah. They're trying to coax her. She said no. But how firm is the no, Jasmine? How firm is the no?
We're all no until the filing deadline coming up in December here.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on the political radar that is interesting you right now? Feels like Prop 50 is, look, I was on the no side when I thought that Kevin McCarthy was not lying, and they said that they were going to raise like $10 million or more than that, like upwards of tens of millions of dollars. They've apparently raised $7 million. They're barely on air there. They've totally had this issue defined away from them. So yeah, I mean it looks like it's going to pass now.
It's going to be a big victory for Gavin Newsom. Like
big victory.
Of all the 2028 prospects who have the most to lose or gain in this November election, he was probably the biggest name out there, and he's going to come out with a pretty big win here. I really do think that's going to pass. How he parlays that momentum into what's next, I don't know. But I was with you. I didn't think that this would pass. I mean, I thought there'd be so much more money. I thought Republicans would be much better organized. I thought there would be a lot more independent pushback to this as well. But it looks like it's going to go through. And it's a big victory for Newsom. The only other thing, speaking of California, that's on my radar is I'm really just waiting for more Katie Porter videos to come out.
Oh, my God.
Really excited about that and those prospects. I mean, you've heard stories about this for years. When she was in Washington, she consistently ranked as one of the worst bosses on the Hill. Her staff turnover was really, really high. Yeah. And now all these videos are coming out of her berating staff, her berating reporter. Like, it's just not a great look. And if I'm Alex Padilla, I'm launching now. Like, I don't know why he's not jumping in the race yet.
Yeah. Here's my hot Katie Porter take. All the video, exactly as terrible as everybody thinks it is. I don't know if it matters, because it's not the reason why people like her. They like her because she is condescending and mean to the right people. So does some of that leak out and get on her staff and get on local reporters? Yeah, but it's not like she is running on being a cuddly, have a beer with candidate. So the fact that that's out there, it doesn't erode the ideological purity that has made her the named candidate that she is. Now, is there enough internal hatred within California that the right power players can force the right people out so you can move this more towards something where she's running against? Because remember, it's a jungle primary in California. I don't think that she's going to be bumped out of the top 2 spots. I think the question would be whether or not she runs against either Steve Hilton or the sheriff whose name escapes me in California that are the 2 Republicans, at which point she's a Democrat versus a Republican, it's over. So if there's another Democrat that can outvote, get more votes than the Republican, then now it's a D versus D, and you have a bit of a summer to slog that out. But the thing is again, yes, she's mean, she's condescending, she's an unlikable person. None of that is new. Everybody knew that before.
She's our asshole. She's an asshole, but she's our asshole.
I do think that some of this is some of the lessons that we should have learned from Trump, where it's like what we thought of as disqualifying behavior, it only is disqualifying if it tells us something new about the candidate. Nobody thought that Katie Porter was anything other than a condescending bully.
Well, that's what I want to hit on here. But for politicos like you and me, we know that about her. For the online progressive base who were introduced to Katie Porter during the oversight hearings with her whiteboard, they know this. This is where her fundraising base, this is why she's been able to win so many competitive races. I'm thinking about the statewide California, the voters throughout California who don't know who Katie Porter is, who their introduction to her are these videos right now. And it's this news cycle. And I wonder if that's going to turn them off here, because she didn't gain a whole lot of ground in the Senate race last year. Adam Schiff ran circles around her. I don't think she's won swing districts before in Orange County, but I'm thinking that the name ID, any residual name ID that she had from that Senate race is going to be overtaken now by this is how we know her, through these videos where she's coming off as a jerk, as to use unhinged, aggressive, mean. And I don't know if that's necessarily the reputation that she wants to be her intro to the wider electorate.
there is no damage that can be done by those videos that can't be undone by her being mean and condescending to the right people. That's
a great point. That's a great point.
And also, when it comes to that Senate race, Adam Schiff is Nancy Pelosi's special little boy. There was no chance that anybody was going to get that Senate seat in California. Right. Now, if the Pelosi machine wants to work as hard as they worked against Katie Porter for somebody else in this race, but I don't think that they got love for anybody in this race like they have love for Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff is their special little boy.
No, you're 100% correct. But I'm also looking at what's been interesting is the reaction to this hasn't been a circle the wagons. It's been, let's pile more dirt on this.
Yes.
I don't see a whole lot of Democratic operatives coming or elected officials coming out and defending Katie Porter.
Probably because no one likes her.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. As I'm looking at who her allies are, and it's few and far between right now.
But she's got the base. She's going to have the small dollars, and she is going to have an unshakable progressive base for her because nobody is coming at her from the left lane. That's the other thing, is that nobody's coming at her and saying no, I'll do this, but I'll also be nice. Okay, we have a few minutes left here. You can end the podcast if you are bothered by talking about football, but we're going to talk about football for a little bit. Steelers 4-1. The rest of the division is totally melting.
It's beautiful.
It's about as a best case scenario as you could expect. Revise your expectations from the beginning of the season as a fellow Steeler fan.
You and I have been talking about this for months now.
Yes.
And I am still, I'm cloud nine right now. Let me be clear here. I love it. The Ravens are flailing. The Bengals riddled with injuries, and they're going to trot out Joe Flacco on Thursday night. God bless them. The Browns are the Browns. It's a mess. We are 4-1 right now. We're beating up on the teams that we should beat up on. The defense is finally looking great. I think we got it figured out right now. It's nice. Aaron Rodgers has been so surprising. I am so surprised at his attitude. I'm surprised at his ability to throw the football. I'm surprised at his mobility to get out of bad situations. The O-line has been holding up. The one completely just blowing up my expectations for what this season was going to be. My still hang up is every time he gets hit and every time he goes down, all I can think of is this is like watching Joel Embiid get hit.
Yeah.
And I worry about him getting back up because we are one bad hit away from him going down. He's a 41-year-old man. Mm-hmm. And our season just completely blowing up because we're betting on a guy who's 41 years old. I'm still terrified about that every game, and that will not go away no matter what the record is.
I am similar. I am over the moon, and yet I am not taking out a mortgage on this happiness. I am not making plans for the playoffs. Everything that I am focusing on is O-line looks like it's coming together. That's great. DK Metcalf looks fantastic. The secondary is exactly the kind of plan that they were expecting to put together. They're playing a lot more man, which allows them to tee off, let the edge rushers get to where they need to get. I hope that they just turn Joe Flacco into a cloud of dust because I think it's going to be a very, very tough win in Cincinnati on Thursday night just because of the short week. But I don't know. I mean, we're in a weird situation where it's I don't know who I'm supposed to be scared of. I don't know if there's any team that I'm I couldn't see the Steelers beating them. We just watched the Bills lose to Atlanta of all teams.
It's wide. AFC is wide open right now. It is wide.
I mean, weirdly, the team that is playing the best right now, even though they haven't played anybody, is New England, and we beat them in New England playing like crap.
Exactly. And that score is so much closer than it should have been. We had 5 turnovers and only got, 23 points from that? It looks wide open right now. I'm not getting – I'm not at the same level of this is fool's gold, with that year that we started 11-0. That one, I was just we are paper tiger. I don't understand how we're doing this. This is not the same. If we beat down on the Bengals this weekend pretty decisively, because I think our problem has always been that we play to the opponent that we have. We don't go out there and run up the score. Although this weekend was great against the Browns.
A very strange feeling. I was telling my wife, I was like, I think I might be able to start working on the podcast early. Like this is very weird to be able to turn. I went to the quad. Normally I keep it on the Steelers, but I went to the quad just because I'm like, I don't know. I'm interested in these other games more than the fate of this one.
No, I think like with 4 minutes left, we turned on another game at my house too. Like we're done. We got this wrapped. And usually I'm like you. I'm locked in. I'm not double screening.
Well, normally we don't have a choice.
Yeah. I am cautiously optimistic. I think we're going to win the division. Everything after that, it's all up in the air. I mean, who do you think? I'm worried about Jacksonville a little bit. They seem to be figuring it out over there. I'm always worried about the Chiefs, no matter what. Yeah. I don't care what the record is. The Jets are the Jets. They're not going to make the playoffs here. I don't know. I don't know what to think about the Chargers either, but like I am hopeful about Steelers football right now.
Everybody is figuring it out. The question is, does Baltimore hit a doom like spiral point where it's like, just shut everybody down? Who cares? Their next stretch of games though are a lot easier. I forget what the schedule is, but they start off with just a tough schedule here. There's a world where, and they still have to play us twice. There is a world where Baltimore turns it around. Lamar Jackson gets healthy, and we see them rattle off 3, 4, 5 wins in a row, and then they come to Pittsburgh. Maybe shades of last year.
Absolutely. I mean, it's still very early in the season here. We're still not even in November yet, but this is blowing away my expectations here.
Although I did see a tweet for which I am very, very supportive of. Should Mike Tomlin retroactively get Coach of the Year for going 10-7 with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, which I think that is a deserved. All right, Kirk, where can people find you?
Justin, they can find me on Twitter at Kirk_Bado. You can also find Hotline on there as well at NJ Hotline. I'm on Substack at Kirk Bado as well. And as always, you can find our writing at nationaljournal.com.
There we go. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, brother.
And that'll wrap it up for us today. Politics, written and hosted by me, Justin Robert Young, for Dog and Pony Show Audio in Austin, Texas. The great and powerful Will Saddleberg, our editor and producer. You can email the show, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Find, follow, and share video clips. Justin R. Young on TikTok, Instagram, and X. Politics is where you find me on YouTube. Great place. We love our commenters. We love everybody who subscribes there. Good times. PayPal.me/payjury, PAYJURY. Venmo is Justin-Young-20. Cash App is PX3Cash, and you can send me anything you'd like in the mail. Post Office Box 153184, Austin, Texas 78715. Again, that is Post Office Box 153184, Austin, Texas 78715. The only place you get our bonus content is TakePoliticsSeriously.com. That's where you need to go. It's our Substack. Get you 2 bonus episodes each and every week, less than the price of a cup of coffee each and every week. You can have up to the day, roughly, 2 bonus episodes. One on Sunday that is all of the clips that the establishment of both parties and the media wants you to talk about all week. Whether or not you will, you can be you can be the judge on. But I'll tell you what they want you to talk about, and I will explain why they want you to talk about it. That is our Sunday edition that comes out Sunday night. And you have our late edition that is on Thursday. Good times. We love it. Yeah. Anyway, that's then. But if you want your name read at the end of the show, you got to sign up for our foundational tier, like these fine folks: Sonny Black, L3PO, Peepaw, Scott, Middle Age, Mike, Tom, Sarah Jeannie, Jeremy, Pro Idiot, Chiller Tomatoes. Oh, yeah, it's Adam, Neil, AB Puppy, Dr. Whiskey, Michael, Fat Tony's PJs from New York, Will, The Borge B, Matthew, Matt, Andrew, Edwin, Sam, Andrew, Phil, Edison, Devon, Paul, a dog named Checkers, Gloria, my mom, Jerry, Trucker, John, Berkeley, Steven, and Zombie Doc. One place to go if you want to be on that list. The foundational tier at TakePoliticsSeriously.com. That's it for us today. We will be back with you Friday on the free feed and Thursday if you are a subscriber. Till then, I'm getting over this. I got a little bit of a frog in my throat here, but we're getting through it. I haven't been coughing at the gym. That's my line. If I cough at the gym, then I know I got to stay away from the gym. But at least I've been able to get my workout in. We had the specialty Catch Me If You Can workout at Orange Theory this morning. That's where I go, 5 o'clock in the morning, because I'm a psycho. And it's the only time I can work out before the baby gets up. The idea is this, 2.8 miles. Can you make 2.8 miles in 20 minutes? Friends, 7 seconds late. So close. So close. Never done it. Never done it. But I will. Oh, friends, I will. Anyway, till next time. This is your old pal, Justin Robert Young, saying some shows talk about politics. Others talk about politics. Still more discuss politics. But this is the only show that dares discuss. Hole 3.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Dog and Pony Show audio.